Hello all you beautiful people, how you doing today? This is Lava Temptress and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome, hi! Today we're going to talk about some more immersive engineering, and if you couldn't guess, today it's all about conveyor belts. How to make them, how to use them, and all the different types. Cool stuffs, right? Alright, first of all, let's go over some quick recipes. So, to make the basic conveyor belt, which each recipe makes 8, you need 3 leather, 2 iron ingots, and a redstone dust. Really easy, really simple, and they're so fantastic. Now, we're going to want dropping conveyor belts. These are going to come in very, very handy. And for these, you're just going to want an iron trapdoor under a conveyor belt. And of course, 1 to 1 equals 1 belt. Next, we have vertical conveyor belts, which honestly I don't use a lot, but I know some people do, so... but for these, you're going to have 3 conveyor belts with 2 iron ingots, like it's going up in a vertical. Get it? Haha! And that recipe makes 3. Next, we're going to have the splitting conveyor belt. These will actually come in very handy. You're probably going to want a couple of these. So for this, you're going to use 3 conveyor belts and an iron ingot, but it does make 3 conveyor belts. Next, we're going to need a strip curtain, and for that, we're going to need 3 iron rods and 6 tough fabric. Each recipe does make 3 though. Next recipe, this one's kind of cool. It depends what you're going to use it for. So this one is the extracting conveyor belt, and for that we need the strip curtain like we made there, a treated wood plank, iron mechanical component, and a conveyor belt. Then we have what are called the covered conveyor belts. So basically each recipe is going to be the same. You're going to want the conveyor belt with scaffolding on top. It can be the steel, or it can be the steel scaffolding, the one with the plank on top. It depends on what you want. So it's going to make covered conveyor belts, and it's 1 to 1 each recipe. So same recipe, if you think of it, just whichever you want down here. So the covered conveyor, the dropping, the vertical, the extracting, and the splitting. All right, now let's get to the fun stuff, and that is, how do we use these conveyor belts? Because they're pretty cool and they're pretty awesome. So first of all, when you go to put down a conveyor belt, it'll have all these different arrows on the ground. So you want to, for instance, if I want it to come towards me, I want the arrow facing whatever direction I want the stuff to go. So whichever way this line goes is the way that the items will go. Now, one of the cool things about the conveyor belts is, like, for instance, here, I put an extracting, even though you don't need one here. But I had put an extracting one here. I told you on the garden cloches it has to be up 1 higher. So here, I did it a different way, and it will move you too, so beware. Let's put that back there. So notice it just falls down. But we could do something else. But for the way I have this set up, I don't want to mess with it too much. But there is something I could do to this one. And that is, have to be on the ground, but I could shift, right click on it, and it'll take it up or down. Now, in order to do it, see how it still did it. But let's do it a little bit differently. So let's put this down on the ground going this way. So it'll drop from here, not a big deal. But if we want it to look like it's fully cohesive and everything, we're going to shift right click on the one on the ground. And now it's going to go at an angle. So if you shift right click, it'll make it go up at an angle. And you can change the angle. If you simply right click without holding shift, it'll change the direction that it's going. So don't fear if you accidentally put one down wrong, you can still change it. It's really easy. Now here is the splitting conveyor belt in action, and it does exactly what it says it does. It splits whatever's coming out down the conveyor train here, and it splits it in 2 different directions. Here, just for fun, I have everything just going back into the silo, because why not? But we still have the, whoops, I just turned that around. There we go. We still have the, sugarcane. Oh my god, tongue-tied. Sugarcane still coming out of the garden cloche here. So this is still coming down, but this is different ways to use this. Okay, it was getting dark. So the extracting one I have here isn't really necessary. Basically, the extracting one we're going to use to take out of a container. So here I have the garden cloches, and I have a different setup going. So I have like the factory type setup because, you know, let's face it, immersive engineering is kind of a factory type setup, which is really nice. I really like it. So I have the conveyor belts, and they're all going this way, as you can tell by the line. And here I have the dropping conveyor belt. Well, the dropping one does, well, kind of like a hopper. So it drops whatever comes through here into the inventory down below. So in this instance, I have a wooden storage crate. Now, you don't have to have it come out this far. For instance, on here, I just put the dropping ones coming directly out of here. And so everything just goes into the storage crates there. And voila. Then these will keep growing. Basically, if you have one of these full, you probably have enough, depending what you have growing. Something that you want more, you're probably going to want it to go into a bigger inventory. But for something like this, I mean, a crate full of the nether warts is plenty for me. Especially how fast it grows. Alright, so I wanted to show you the extracting conveyor belt. Because if you look here, where'd the stuff go? I had stuff in here. Alright, hold on. So we're going to use the covered conveyor belts just so you can see the difference. They work the exact same way, but we're going to put covered conveyor belts, and we're going to put a covered dropper. There we go. And if you don't have it down properly, it'll give you the inventory. But now everything will come out. So the difference is the look of it. I mean, that's basically the difference. So the covered ones have the steel scaffolding on top. They function the exact same way as the regular conveyor belts. It's just what kind of look you are going for. All right, so if I wanted to extract something out of, not something like this that has certain places where it automatically extracts stuff. But what about like a crate or a chest or something like that? Well, if you look, I have the conveyor belt here and it's not pulling stuff out. And that is where the extracting one comes in. I have it turned around right now. But again, if you use your hammer, you can turn it to where you want it. And so now it's going to come out and annoy me. There we go. So now it's just going to pop everything out here. But if I put a container there, it'll put everything in the container. Even though I already have stuff in the container, because I was messing with this. Now here's another instance with immersive engineering that you could use it. And here is what the angled conveyor belts, covered conveyor belts look like. I think they look ugly when they're angled, but you know, that's just me. But here we have a regular one, and of course this is just pulling out the slag. I do not have extractors on this one because this is an automatic export, just like before we had just the regular chest here and the chest in front. But here we have it where it goes out on conveyor belts. Now, the conveyor belts have an storage system. So you see those floating ingots, and that is because it cannot go into this wooden storage crate right now. Why? Because it's angled. After an angle, you need a flat one. So if we were to very quickly break this, whoops, put that down and put that down. There we go. Now it'll start putting all of it in here. So if we take all of this out, because this is the stuff I was putting in for the other one. There we go. And of course it starts raining again, because why not? Tanya, weather. Alright, so now it will go to the straightaway after the angle. And now it will, whoops, now it will automatically go into here, which is where this top one went. So now I don't have to worry about it. But when it is on a conveyor belt, if this were to fill up for any reason, so if we filled up these slots, say that we had this running for quite a long time. Oh, that's not going to work because this is the same thing. Well, that's a bad example. But if this were full and we didn't have any other space in there, the stuff would sit on the conveyor belt because it has like a storage capacity to it, which is kind of nice. So for instance here, our slag, if we were to fill it up, like back here, this one's almost full. So if this one were to fill all the way up, then it would just sit the storage here, and I could pop down another crate after I pick up this one, and it'd automatically put the stuff into the crate. Well, actually, if you pick it up and there's nothing behind the covered conveyor, it shoots it out on the ground. So you don't want to ever leave it without anything here, because then it puts it into the empty slot. So you don't want to do that. But yeah. So this is the conveyor belts. Like I said, they're pretty easy. The vertical one, I didn't really demonstrate because honestly, I think the vertical one's a pain in the ass. So I don't use it very much. But just for demonstration, did I take, see, I didn't even want to show it, so I took the vertical one out. But I'll show you what it looks like. That's not what I wanted. Vertical. All right, so let's see. The vertical again, you're going to put down. Now this, if you hit with the hammer, will change the direction that it's in, not the direction it's going. So it's still going to go in whatever direction you put it down. It's just which side of the block it's going to be on, which is kind of cool that you can change it. But that's the vertical one. Again, you can still stack them. You can stack them pretty high. They could probably be useful, but I just don't care for them. They're not my favorite. But yeah, they're still usable. So you could use that. You could test them out. See what you think of them. All right, well, that's conveyor belts. I figured we needed to do that before we move on to like some of the machines and stuff. Next, we'll probably do the crusher because the crusher is awesome. And maybe I'll be able to fit a couple of other different machines in there too. And hopefully not make it too long. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down below. Or any mods that you would like me to go over in a future tutorial. I do have a running list, so I may not get to it right away, but I will get to it. All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. Hopefully this is helpful. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you can see when all the new videos come out. Until the next time, this Lava Temptress, don't get burned. Bye!